You're listening to Your Purpose and Business podcast, where we connect you to possibilities. I'm your host, Raquel Walters, a two-time best-selling author, millennial speaker, corporate trainer, advocate, and clinical social worker at heart. Your Purpose and Business podcast will connect you with everyday successful people who will share their impactful stories, insights, challenges, failures, and triumphs on how they're navigating the working world, whether by climbing the 9-to-5 corporate ladder or starting, growing, and scaling their business. So grab your pen and notebook because you'll want to implement the nuggets and tools, strategies shared in every episode. Class is in session. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Your Purpose and Business podcast. My name is Raquel, and I'm thrilled and honored to have Donna Norman on with us today. So let me tell you a little bit about Donna. As your certified executive and personal development coach, Donna Norman will help you leverage your innate skills to successfully grow in your career as an entrepreneur. She specializes in coaching strategies, equipping you with tools needed to move forward and grow. Donna's skill in developing talent has translated throughout the corporate world, higher education, and among many budding entrepreneurs. She has a master's in organizational learning and leadership from the George Washington University. She's a wife and a mother of three who enjoys reading books and playing board games with family and friends and serving in ministry. Donna, it is a pleasure to have you on tonight. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be here tonight.
You're welcome, Donna. And so I love to ask everyone that I interview, tell us one thing about yourself that is not included in your beautiful bio.
Let's see. One thing that's not included in my bio, and I think might be important for your audience listeners, is I started my career in retail. And so my undergrad degree and my bachelor's degree is in apparel marketing.
Oh,
And so I started pretty far away from where I am at today. My goal was to become a textile designer. And life just kind of, twisted and turned and, led me in a different direction, I should say. So it's kind of, I call myself an HR transplant because this is kind of the second part of my career.
interesting. And I know that we're gonna somehow get more deeper into, you working in retail and
Yes,
transitioning over into human resources, right?
yes.
And so Donna, your bio is beautiful. I know that you are a executive, personal development coach right now, but before you started your career as an executive, personal development coach, take us a little bit on the journey that it took for you to become this executive personal development coach, because this podcast is Your Purpose and Business podcast, and so a lot of our listeners are trying to figure out how it is that they can navigate their life. And one of the big things is career, because we have to work in order to make money, in order to pay our bills and survive, right? But also especially for millennials, and not only millennials, however, there's this thing going around about, okay, what's my purpose, and am I able to identify that, and can I work within my purpose yet still get paid for the work that I'm doing? So I'm hoping that question makes sense. um you know Tell us a little bit about your journey up until present.
Until now. Okay, yeah, definitely. And yeah, your question makes perfect sense. And so, kind of as I shared, I started in my undergrad in retail, and so I have over 20 years of experience in the retail, and that's front facing. I started when I was in high school and throughout college, basically on the floor as a retail associate. I've done retail management, but the bulk of my early part of my career was in the back end of retail, and that was my first introduction to corporate America, where I worked in what many will call the distribution arm of retail. And so that was really making sure that the product that the buyers purchased made it to the right locations at the right time. And so that's really where I started to grow what I would call my corporate career. And I worked for two different Fortune 500 companies. And I worked my way up to the management level before deciding to make that jump into human resources, specifically into the area of talent development. And how that happened for me, it wasn't necessarily a decision that I made for myself, but it was something that happened organically. I had the opportunity to work in an area of the business that was new. And so I worked on a team to help develop that area of the business from scratch. So implementation. And during that time, as that area, that arm of the business grew, I had an opportunity to start creating onboarding and training programs for new employees who were coming into the area. And through that, I really learned a lot about my skills, or my what I would call my innate skills, or the things that came natural for me. So although I wasn't really working in a development area, I was doing that work. And so I had an executive at the company at that time that I was with. They kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, this, I think this will be great for you. And an opportunity came up. I applied for it. I was very nervous. I will tell you, and I got a lot of coaching from my then manager at that time, and letting her know I was interested. And she, gave me her blessing and said, this is the right area for you. So for me, that was confirmation. And then when I met with the executive who I was for the position that I was interviewing for, she was like, I was wondering how long it was going to take you to make it up here. So what that really spoke to me is what they saw in me. And sometimes you don't always see that in yourself, but other people may see that in you. And so that's kind of how I got into the talent development, or HR piece. And I spent about 3 years in HR at that particular company before heading out on my own. And I made that decision to really pursue coaching, which was something that I learned about through my stint in talent development, where we were bringing in coaches to work with some of our executives. I really took a liking to what the coaches did. And so I dug in and learned a little bit more about what coaching was before going out on my own in 2014. And so I made that decision. I jumped out there. I leapt, for lack of a better word. And then I got out there and I learned a whole lot that I didn't know about running, what it takes to run a business. And so at that point in time, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I took probably about 2 years of just kind of muddling my way through and trying to build a coaching practice before I had to make the decision to go back into the workforce in order to sustain my life, knowing I went back into the workforce knowing what my end game was, and it was eventually to be back out on my own. But I needed the funds to do it, and I need to learn a little more. And so that's when I went into higher education, still in the area of human resources. And I spent about 3 years in higher education, learning as I grow, because wherever I'm at, I'm growing and I'm learning. And then before making the decision to launch back out on my own. During that time, I completed my master's degree. I also have completed my full coaching certification, which also came with some training on what it takes to build a business. In addition to that, I also got a business coach to help me in the areas that I knew that weren't strong for me. And that's kind of what landed me to where I'm at today. And this is my second time, I guess, launching out fully on my own. I kept my practice open, and I continued to coach while I was working, but now I'm at a point with where I'm doing it full time.
Yay,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
And you're welcome. You said a lot there because oftentimes, aspiring, entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
whether it's that they're working a job that they hate or they're just not feeling fulfilled there, often time are trying to figure out, okay, how can I monetize, either the skills that I have, or should I go out and learn something else, how to leverage what I'm good at already, or to elevate a skill set that I have, right? And so the point I'm getting to here is that, you learn a valuable lesson. You figured out what, you didn't know once you left the first time, and you decided to go back into corporate, and then still operating that your practice, right,
Yes.
simultaneously, until you felt comfortable enough, you had enough knowledge, you hired a business mentor in order to make that leap again full time into working full time into your business. So that's definitely great. And you also spoke about, utilizing the knowledge that you already had working in HR, and then
Yes.
also honing on those skills as a executive or coach, and that is what you do for your clients now. So that's definitely amazing, Donna. When it comes on though to your purpose, which is a huge word, and it is thrown around, in the society that we're living in now, the era we're living in. I mean, what do you define as your purpose?
So what I define as my purpose is really, I guess, to summarize it, is my purpose is to help individuals find success through self mastery. And so that's where I landed. And like I said, when I launched the first time, that I knew that that's what I wanted to do, because I see so many people struggle with trying to become something that they're not, or something that other people have defined for them. And I myself was in that boat, and I've lived through that. I've walked through that. And there became a point in my life, and I think it was, I know it was my pastor who had preached a sermon on, and he really talked about making a decision. And so one of the biggest decisions, and I think most impactful decisions that I made for myself, is on who I was and who I wanted to be. And so that's where I really landed on that purpose. And once I landed on that purpose, I everything else just it lined up, and I use that kind of as my compass in life. Like, how does what I'm doing line up with my purpose? And if it doesn't line up, I'm not supposed to be
Right.
doing it. And so I use that as a gauge. That answer the question?
Yeah, yes, yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. That definitely did. And everybody's purpose, their definition is gonna be different. Is what
Mhm.
suits you, because oftentimes, persons don't even know how to identify what their purpose is. It can be a challenging question for some, and so I'm happy to know that you know what your purpose for your life means for you, and how it is you're gonna show up in the world to serve others through your consulting coaching business, right?
Yes.
Right. And so Donna, take us a little bit into some of the challenges that you face. I know before you mentioned that the first time, you decided to leave corporate to branch out full time in your business. I mean, what did that look like for you? What were some of the challenges, if you wanted to dive deeper into this, so that the audience can know that, listen, entrepreneurship is not easy, and it's not that you are not going to take the leap of faith, but you have to be ready to face whatever challenges that may come. So if you could share some of your challenges that you faced.
Certainly, certainly, because I certainly did face quite a few. One of the biggest challenges that I felt was really not necessarily knowing what I needed to know. And in that, I believe I spent a lot of time in two in two things, what I would call analysis paralysis, and what that how that manifested is I was looking at everything that anyone had to offer, and I was jumping on that. So I was following this business coach one day, and another business coach another day, or other entrepreneurs and the things that they were offering, and joining different groups to learn more about, what it took to manage a business. And then what I found myself doing is getting caught up in where they were at versus where they started.
Mm.
And when I got smart, I looked back and said, okay, well, where were they 10 years ago, right? So where were they 5 years ago? So versus me sitting where I was at and trying to get to where, their 10-year mark, I really needed to go back and look at what was their 1 year mark and start to learn from that. So that was a big mistake, I would say. The other part of that is it. I feel like it cost me a lot of money. So I mentioned I had to end up going back into the workforce because in that and chasing and joining everyone's group who had anything that just kind of touched my heart or my mind or whatever, I ended up spending a lot of money and wasting a lot of money for that matter. And so the two things I would say is be really thoughtful about who you're following and why. Understand how they got to where they're at today, right? So that you're not chasing there now. And then the second thing is really to manage your finances and know your limits on your finances, or I guess in a sense, budget. How much money are you going to spend on educating yourself? How much money are you going to spend on product development? So really starting to think about how you're going to manage your funds.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. The information you just provided is gems. So for I hope that you guys are, writing these things down so that, you know exactly what to do when you are starting your business, or you're thinking about, leaving your job, in order to work full time. And, I just wanted to add here, there's never a right time to say that now is the time, so I kind of want to put that disclaimer out there. You will know because Donna, I too share that similar story where
Mhm.
I have left corporate. I work in healthcare, and I thought I was ready to branch out on my own. I was out for a year and a half, and then the money slowly dwindled down. I was investing in myself, which was good. I had a few clients, but as sometimes that money rolling in from the clients is not as stable as when you're in a job, which that comes with entrepreneurship. So then
Right.
I had to make a decision that, okay, I'm going to go back into the healthcare field while simultaneously work my job, build up, my clientele, make sure that the money is sustainable, every single month, that I hit a certain goal before I go back full time. So, I hope that you guys are listening to these experiences, and then of course what Donna just said about, making sure that you know why it is that you're following a certain mentor, or educator, and not necessarily, following multiple people at the same time, making sure that you kind of stick to one or two, and stay the course, not to, looking at everybody and buying into, the next
Right.
thing that you see, right? And the other thing is budgeting, making sure that you're managing your money as well. So that was valuable, Donna. So Donna, tell us a little bit about your executive personal development coaching business, and how it is that you help your clients in terms of transforming their lives.
Certainly. So yeah, like as I said, I've been coaching for externally, I should say, coaching for about the last 6 years, and internally, coaching for many years more than that. But one of the things that I really love about coaching is that it really allows clients to be in charge of who they are and where they're going. And so that's really where I come in. I come in and I am here to help you in making those decisions by asking the right questions, right? Asking the questions that you typically wouldn't ask yourself, or maybe your girlfriend, really doesn't have that same level of perspective to ask you the right questions in making the right decisions. So one of like an example might be many of my clients endeavor to be entrepreneurs themselves, and I spend time with them, walking them through the direction that they're going in by asking them, the whys. Why do you want to be this? What, like, as you asked me, well, what is your purpose? Like, when at the end of the day, what's the mark that you want to leave in the world, or the mark that you want to leave with your clients? How do you want them to feel after they spent time working with you? And through that, it really helps them to determine and decide what direction they want to head in. So I had a client who knew she wanted to be a coach, but not necessarily what type of coach. And as you were talking about, with many of your audience members, is really looking at, what do you already know, what do you already do, and how can you leverage that in where you want to go. And so I worked with her and helped her to do the necessary research and make the right decisions based on what was already in her, right? And not to look at me as a coach and say, okay, well, I want to be a coach, I want to be like Donna. No, what type of coach do you want to be? And then what do you need in order to get there? So, we spent about 3 months walking through, and she was so grateful. She said, I really, I didn't expect this out of working with you, but I do appreciate you not doing the work for me, but walking me through how to do the work for myself. And so that's really what I endeavor to do, is to help individuals understand, how do you do the work for yourself? How do you make your own decisions? How do you lay out your own path and figure out what you need in order to support who you have decided to be? Because your supports won't look like my supports, just like my supports won't look like your supports, Raquel. So I think it's really about making the right decisions for yourself and who you want to be.
Right. And I totally agree with that, because oftentimes, we're trying to mirror, when you're seeking out that first or second mentor, we're trying to mirror what we see on social media, and or with what we see working with our coach, a lot of times. Because I have to say, and I'll just put this out there, I have to say, I remember my first mentor. At the time, this was 6 years ago. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I was trying to still figure it out.
Right.
And because my coach had a particular title, that's the title that I use. So, I can relate to what Donna is saying, and I'm sure that many listeners can also relate. But for those who are just new to wanting to start a business and wanting to step outside of corporate and do something on their own, you have to be mindful of making sure that you are choosing a coach or a mentor that will help you to extract your unique gifts and talents, and how it is that you can use to serve the world, whether through a service or a product. So that was excellent. Donna, tell us a little bit more of your business, and if you have any upcoming courses, or how persons can work with you.
Certainly. So yeah, so my right now I'm focusing on coaching and consulting. So I work one-on-one with individuals, either inside or outside of organizations, and I do coach them on either growing their career, or on in their if they're an entrepreneur, how to develop their skills in that area. I also work with companies and small and large businesses, and go in and do some consulting work there, in the areas of talent development and in the areas of training. So on my website, you can find out more information about me just at donnalnorman.com, and you'll see a little bit more about what I do in those particular areas. I'm currently working on a few projects. One of my biggest projects is developing a professional development online academy, and that is under Teachable, under the DLN leadership group, and out there, I have a course. My first course is out there today, and it walks you through how to build your brand. And so that's where I started, and that was probably the biggest decision that I made, is to decide who I wanted to be and what my brand was. And I always encourage everyone, if you're going to spend any time on anything, the most amount of time is really deciding exactly who it is that you want to be. How do you want to show up in the world, and make that decision before you do anything else, because again, it is, I use it as my compass. I use it to determine whether I'm going in the right direction, or the wrong direction. If it's not in alignment with my brand, I need to make a change, and that allows me not to follow the wrong people for the wrong reasons, because I have that as my compass to determine whether it lines up or not. So yeah, so you can find out more information, either about coaching with me, my consultant work, or about my online professional development academy at DonnaLNorman.com.
Oh, that is awesome. And clarity is everything. Clarity on your path. And Donna, just as you were speaking, and I was thinking about, we've been talking about, how to dive in, and what to not to do and what to do first. But talk a little bit about some of the fears and doubts that persons may have, because somebody listening may say, oh, that's great, you were able to do that, jump, leave your job, go into entrepreneurship full time, go back to your job, figure it out, and then eventually leave again. But what if I can't even take the first step to even start the business?
Yes.
Like, I'm here like doubting myself. Am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Can I do this? Do I have the capacity to do this? So speak to that, please, and share some of your experiences. Did you ever doubted that you could do this?
Oh, absolutely. I My biggest fear I should say, is did I know enough? Did I have the right level of knowledge, to do the work? And so how that manifests is, always looking, okay, I need to go get this degree, or I need to go get that certification, and before you know it, you have degrees and certifications, and you're still standing in the same place. And so what I've learned is, get what you need to get started, and to move, and to keep moving forward, right? And so you have to keep moving forward. You have to keep just kind of doing the work, in order to really grow and develop. And so that's where I would say my second leap, I should
Right.
say, is I'm really focused on doing the work.
Mhm.
I'm really focused on execution, as opposed to learning and putting this label behind my name, and in that label behind my name. I'm really focused on just getting it done, whether it's done imperfectly, or not. It's for now, it's a matter of, okay, just getting it out there. And so on my Instagram page, earlier, or the latter part of 2020, I had done a very vulnerable post, because one of my other fears was actually speaking. Although I've spoken on stages, I had a fear of speaking on screen. And so in one of my coaching communities, I was really challenged to do that. And I put a very vulnerable post of me on Instagram, where I talked about what about my fear of speaking, and how that has really held me back from doing videos and things like that for my business, or even stopped me from doing my first course. It took me about 6 months to do it, because one of the things I learned is I didn't like the sound of my own voice, and so I wouldn't do it, or I would record a video and I wouldn't post it. And so I think you have to just get comfortable about being vulnerable, and, for lack of a better word, being fearless to some degree, and just, putting it out there. You have to start somewhere, but the most important thing is to get started and to move forward.
Amazing. And this is why I love to say classes in session, because the Your Purpose and Business podcast, it just shows that, we are all similar, contrary to, whatever belief, we're all made up the same. And so if Donna was able to do it and I was able to do it, then you can do it too. Like, quiet out those negative thoughts that you may have, and also seek out help for coaches, such as Donna, to help you to break down those barriers and extract out that confidence outside of you so that you can start taking that leap, those first steps. So thank you so much for sharing that, Donna, because I know that that has empowered so many listeners just by you sharing the different ways that they can rise up beyond their self-doubt and fears. And so shifting gears a little bit, what has supported you to this day when it comes on to running and operating your business, especially now in the face of what I want to say uncertainty
Mhm.
with what's going on in the world right now. But what are some of the things that you do for yourself, or the communities or the supports that you have surrounding you in order to maintain the business as well as to maintain yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest thing I would say, or first and foremost, I would just say is my faith. And so faith being the evidence of things and hope for, the evidence of things unseen. That really I have to walk with that, and really lean into that, right? So that I know that I may not fully see where I'm going or what it's going to look like on the back end, but I have to keep moving towards that. So I absolutely I lean into my faith quite a bit, and if you visit my website, you'll see evidence of that on there. I'm not I don't pretend to be a minister or super scriptural, but I do believe that there is a need to blend the spiritual and the natural. I actually heard a general speak in one of my graduate classes, and one of the actually he's an admiral in the Navy, and one of the things, the most important books he said that he had was his Bible,
Yeah.
and so I lean into that. In addition to that, in 2020, I really focused on what the Bible says in Proverbs about wise counsel, and so I sought out counsel for my own support systems, and so I worked with a one-on-one coach, and in addition to that, I also have two communities that I'm in. And one of the communities is really just a circle of friends. As a mom and a mother of three and a wife, as you get older and you move away from your childhood or high school friends, I found it really hard to connect with with women who were moving in the same direction that I was headed in. And so I joined a community, and that has really helped to support me in that particular area. And like I said, they challenge me, and they hold me accountable for being who I endeavor to be. And then the second thing I did is I did find a business mentor. And so that's another community that I am in. And this community is specifically focused on individuals who are walking through this mentor's plan, and growing and developing their business. And so there are some people in there who are coaches, but there are people from all walks of life and all different types of businesses in there. And as you were stating, many of us are going through the same challenges. It just manifests differently. And so I definitely believe in community. And like I said, I've gotten two communities to support myself. And then also every coach needs a coach. And so definitely maintaining a one-on-one coach. And the last thing I will also share is therapy. This, yeah, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. It can be very stressful at times, especially when you are doing this while working, and while either whether you're developing growing a family, married, and so those come with challenges. And so I'm a firm believer in mental health, and really taking care of your full body, physical health and mental health. So I do, I have a therapist, and she's there, another person for me to talk to, and to at least bounce some of my personal challenges off of, because a lot of times you don't have someone to talk to. So definitely I think 2020 was definitely my year of support systems, and really making sure that before I stepped back out on my own, that I had the right support systems in
Yeah.
place. And thankfully with COVID and everything, it absolutely needed it all.
Right. And I just love that you also touched on the mental health aspect too, because it is so needed. I mean, we tend to look at the outside of what's going on around us, but yes, what's going on around us, we probably don't have a lot of control, but what we have control over is how we're thinking, how we're feeling, and we can maintain that. You know what I mean? And so it's
Yes,
great that you
absolutely.
have these supports for your business, but also for your personal life,
Mhm.
your overall well-being. So I love that. So Donna, share with us again how the audience can contact you if they wanted to learn more about you and work with you.
Okay, absolutely. So my website, you can find me at donnalnorman.com, and then on Facebook at DLN Lead, and then also on Instagram at DLN Lead.
Awesome. And if you could leave us with one thing tonight, is there a ritual routine that serves you or sets the intention for your days?
So I have the one thing that I do every day is journal, and so I have a journal that I use, and it's actually a journal that I journal who I want to be, right? So I may not be that person today, but I will each day I write down, exactly, who I endeavor to be, and so that kind of sits with me every day as I'm walking through. I may not be this person today, but this is where I'm going. It really sets the path. And then the second part of my journal really focuses on gratitude and being grateful for what I have and where I'm at this moment, and throughout the day and throughout the week. And so I think it's always important to recognize what you do have, because there's always someone out there who is less fortunate than you are, or maybe not even less fortunate, but endeavoring to be where you're at. And I always talk about you're mentoring through your model, right? And so no matter where you are at in life, there's likely someone looking at you saying, I just want to be there, right? I just want to be where she's at today. And so always being very mindful of that and thankful for what I have and everything that God has given me and placed in my life, and making sure that I'm not letting any of that go unnoticed or to waste.
Right. I love it. And giving thanks is so important. So I'm happy to hear that you have a gratitude journal, and you have a journal that you write down what you aspire to become, because we're all becoming, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So thanks again, Donna. It's been a pleasure to have you on the Your Purpose and Business podcast. I know that the audience has gotten so many valuable information, tools, and gems that they can implement right away in their lives and in their career and business. And as always, guys, be good to yourself, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye bye. Thank you, Raquel.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Thank you for listening. If you've loved this episode, let's stay in touch. Head over to raquelwalters.com and subscribe to my email list so that I can send you updates on new episodes, exclusive motivational nuggets, and insider knowledge that's only shared when you join our community. Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review, as I want to know your thoughts about every episode. Follow me on Instagram at Your Purpose and Business Podcast. And remember, your life is beautiful, and this is a part of your journey. So embrace it. Speak to you soon.